Welcome to Divisadero Middle School. This is a guide to help 6th grade students and their parents become more familiar with middle school in anticipation of becoming 7th grade students at Divisadero. This video will cover elective choices for 7th graders, where to find applications for electives that require them, and the online registration process. In addition, you will be introduced to some of the staff at Divisadero, get a glimpse of some daily schedules, and see other opportunities that are open to students and parents. Before we get started, be sure to look for this image throughout the presentation. When you see it, it might be a good idea to take a picture so that you can easily recall the information on the slide. There may be other slides in the presentation that you may also wish to capture with a camera. I'll leave that up to you. Divisadero currently has 4 administrators. This is Mr. Aguilar's 4th year as principal at Divisadero. He is actually a product of Divisadero and Mount Whitney High School. Mr. Aguilar began his teaching career at Mountain View Elementary, teaching the 5th grade. He then served at Mount Whitney as a social studies teacher, the varsity basketball coach, and an assistant principal. Mr. Aguilar is also a licensed attorney. Mrs. Chavez is Divisadero's assistant principal of curriculum and instruction. This is her 5th year at Divisadero. Mrs. Chavez also began her teaching career in elementary school. She then served Valley Oak Middle School as an ELA teacher and an assistant principal before joining the Divisadero team. Mr. Hagenson is in his 12th year in education. He began as a social studies teacher at Divisadero and later taught AVID as well, eventually serving as the AVID coordinator. Mr. Hagenson also spent 7 years teaching high school social studies during summer school. He coached softball and soccer at Divisadero and went on to be the varsity softball coach at Mount Whitney. This is Mr. Hagenson's 4th year in administration, having served as both learning director and assistant principal. Mr. C is in his 12th year as an administrator. He began at Divisadero as a learning director and continued in that role at Valley Oak Middle School until returning to Divisadero as an assistant principal in 2015. Before he was an administrator, Mr. C served young people by coordinating after-school programs and working with at-risk students. Mr. C currently works with this year's 8th grade class, but will move to the incoming 7th graders in the fall, as our assistant principals rotate to directly serve the same class of students for the entirety of their middle school experience. There are many other wonderful teachers and staff members that work at Divisadero. Here are just a few names of people who provide academic and behavior support. Mrs. Farias is our school psychologist who counsels students and oversees testing for special education. Mrs. Bishop is our school counselor and assists students with academic needs as well as minor behavior strategies to promote successful education. Mrs. Cadillo has worked for many years as Divisadero's school social worker. She works with students and families to provide counseling services, referrals to outside agencies, and general welfare support. Mr. Vasquez is a counselor in the district's school safety intervention program. He is assigned to work with Divisadero and focuses on at-risk students. When it comes to behavior at Divisadero, Trojans focus on school-wide expectations that form the acronym CARE: Character, Achievement, Respect, and Effort. Staff and students do their best to practice these school-wide expectations in every area on campus at all times. When Mr. Aguilar came to Divisadero, he brought with him the idea of extending care with power. While at Mount Whitney, Mr. Aguilar worked with this student to be present to all classes every day. He also encouraged him to be on time and ready to engage in class. Mr. Aguilar challenged John to work hard and earn everything, understanding that nothing would be given freely without effort. Lastly, he was asked to always respond positively to staff and students and work out differences in a calm manner. John's success with power is an encouragement to everyone. At Divisadero, we say that when Trojans care, Trojans have power. During the month of January, leadership students visited the 6th grade classrooms of the schools in Divisadero's feeder system to share what it's like to be a middle school student. Many of the things in this presentation were shared in those ambassador visits. The slides to those presentations can be found on Divisadero's website. We'd like to thank the students, teachers, and staff of our feeder schools for allowing us to come in and establish those important student connections. And now, a little more about the daily life of a Trojan at Divisadero. A regular day in middle school has 7 periods. Instead of having all subjects with one teacher, students travel to different classrooms and different teachers for each subject. A typical schedule includes 2 periods of English Language Arts, or ELA, and 1 period each of math, history, science, PE, and an elective. Each class is about 50 minutes on a regular day. There are 3 different kinds of schedules during the week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays are basically the same and constitute what we would call regular days. There are also late start Mondays and RTI Wednesdays. Here you can see the schedule of a regular day. Let's see what it looks like with both lunches. Middle school students have 2 lunches in order to accommodate around 400 students at each lunch. It would not be possible to have just 1 lunch since the cafeteria could not serve 800 lunches during the 35-minute lunch period. Students are divided into 2 lunches based on their schedules. It should be noted that lunches are always 35 minutes regardless of the adjustment to the class schedule. Divisadero offers a period before school called pre-first. Note that there is no bus transportation for pre-first classes. Students who select pre-first should understand that it is their responsibility to arrive by 7:15. Students who are consistently late or absent from pre-first will be dropped from the class to open up a spot for others. For students who choose to take pre-first PE, this will open up a spot in their schedule to take an extra elective class. Jazz band is also offered during pre-first. However, it does not give students an extra elective because they must be enrolled in either intermediate or advanced band as well. Remember that pre-first is an optional class and does not have to be taken by all students. Every Monday at all middle schools is a late start Monday. School begins at 9 a.m. every Monday. There's a camera on this slide in hopes that parents and students will take a picture and remember that the first bell rings at 8:55. The tardy bell rings at 9 o'clock. Of all the days of the week, Monday has the most tardy students by far. You can see here that pre-first is earlier on Mondays. Note that pre-first students should arrive by 7:05. During the PLC time, pre-first students are supervised in the courtyard or the Coliseum. They are not allowed to leave campus during this time. On Mondays, classes are a little bit shorter, but students still get a break, and while lunch is later, it is still 35 minutes. RTI stands for Response to Intervention. Every Wednesday at Divisadero is set aside to provide an opportunity for students to get the extra help they need. As you can see, an extra class is built into the schedule right after second period. Teachers select students based on needs and place them into their RTI classes for intervention. Students who are not selected for intervention that week can sign up for an enrichment. An enrichment is an extension of learning that students would not normally have in class. All of this is done online through PowerSchool. Now let's talk about specific classes. Most students are placed in general classes. However, student grades in their 6th grade classes, along with other indicators like the CASP and LPAC scores, are used to determine whether students should be placed in pre-AP or honors classes, or whether students should be placed in a support class like Language Lab, Math Lab, or ELD Enrichment. It should be noted that support classes usually take the place of electives. As mentioned before, students who take pre-first PE would be allowed to take another elective. Students who are placed in support classes are given priority for pre-first PE if they desire to be in pre-first. Divisadero staff also engages with elementary staff to provide a smooth transition of special education services and 504 accommodations. In just a moment, we'll move on to electives. Hopefully you have received this document through the mail, as an attachment in an email, or picked it up at school. If not, it can be found on Divisadero's website. It would be helpful if you have a paper copy with you during this presentation. This template is not a registration form. It simply serves as a worksheet to prepare students for the online registration. These are the exact questions that will be found online. Having this information ready when registering online will make the process faster and more accurate. The top portion of this template asks for identification information like student name and student ID number. It also asks for a home address and a mailing address if mail is received someplace other than the house, like a P.O. box. Be sure to include the zip code as well. The middle section of this template is for selecting elective courses for next year. Note that some of the electives require application or teacher approval. Students will be asked to make 3 selections. If for some reason it is not possible for students to have the first choice, it is helpful to know the second and third choices so that Divisadero can try to make that happen. Without properly making selections, an elective will be chosen for students. The bottom portion of the template describes pre-first options, which are not a requirement. Remember that transportation is not available for pre-first classes. The final statement at the bottom of the template notes that students will only be able to submit an online registration one time. Once it has been submitted, student answers will be emailed to the student's email address. If a correction needs to be made, please call the main office. There are so many great electives at middle school from which to choose. Before you make your selections, allow me to give a brief synopsis of which electives are available to 7th grade students. If you don't happen to have the template in front of you, simply jot down a few notes and you should be just fine. The electives you see here are available to all students. They do not require any kind of application or teacher recommendation. Beginning band, boys choir, girls choir, beginning art, and beginning computers. Note that beginning art and beginning computers are each only one semester, and one is paired with the other. In other words, this is a year-long loop. Students who choose this option will get one of these classes in the fall and the other class during the spring. This slide shows some classes that have some kind of application process or recommendation. Intermediate band, advanced band, and jazz band are all by teacher recommendation. If you are interested in these, notify Mr. Luna and he will connect with your elementary band teacher. Divisadero has 2 orchestra sections, intermediate and advanced. Intermediate requires some experience. Usually this is experience in the 5th and 6th grades. Students must audition for advanced orchestra or have permission from the teacher. Contact Mr. Vieira with any questions. Concert choir is by audition only, and the majority of the class is usually 8th graders. Ms. Turner has provided a survey link on Divisadero's website for interest in all choirs. You may also contact her through email. It should be noted that all bands, orchestras, and choirs perform concerts that are part of the grade. Yearbook is open to both 7th and 8th graders. Ms. White requires an application, which can be found on Divisadero's website. All applications are available now and are due by February 12th. There are 2 other classes that are offered at Divisadero that also require applications. AVID is a class that teaches students organizational skills and prepares them to be successful in both college and career. The application is on Divisadero's website and is due by February 12th. The AVID application process also requires an interview. AVID interview night is scheduled for February 22nd and will take place via Zoom. Leadership assists with school activities, including the Ambassador Program and ASB, which is the school's student council. Students in leadership are expected to lead the way among peers when it comes to exemplary attitudes and behavior. Leadership is available to both 7th and 8th grade students. The application is on Divisadero's website and is due by February 12th. Not only are all applications due by February 12th, all registrations are due by February 12th as well. It takes a long time to balance the master schedule, and we need to have all the information before we can begin. In an effort to capture as many registrations as possible, Divisadero administration will be visiting the 6th grade classrooms of our feeder schools via Zoom to provide assistance with the registration process and to seek the goal of having all students register at once. Please take note of the day your student is scheduled to register in their 6th grade class and have them properly prepared. If you are with your child at the time of registration, you are certainly encouraged to assist or ask any questions for clarification. If your student does not attend one of the schools listed, the link for registration will be activated on Divisadero's website on February 9th. Remember that all registrations and applications are entirely online this year, and they are due by February 12th. Note that students must be logged in to their student Google accounts in order to register. If your student is outside the district and does not have a student Google account, please contact Divisadero and we will help you with the process. To relieve some anxiety, allow me to show what the online registration looks like. You can see that all the identification questions are at the top, just like on the template. Be sure to answer each question carefully and completely. There's a section for students to select their current school and their current teacher. For schools and teachers not on this list, select Other and fill in the information. At the section on electives, you can see that the form asks for elective choices in 3 separate sections. For the first choice, open the drop-down menu and make the selection. Do the same for the second choice, being careful to choose something other than the first choice. Repeat the process for the third choice. Next is the section on pre-first options. Make the selection for PE or jazz band, or choose not interested if you would not like to take a pre-first class. Be sure to read the section below. With hundreds of students, the master schedule is carefully balanced with regard to teachers and class sizes. By checking this box, you are indicating that you understand that schedule changes are difficult to make and cannot always be accommodated once the master schedule is created. When you are finished with the form, hit the Submit button. Remember that this form can only be submitted one time, so double check your answers before you hit Submit. Once you hit the Submit button, you will see this screen. Note that it reminds students to check their student emails for a copy of the answer submitted. If for some reason there is an error, please contact the main office to make a correction. The phone number for the school will be at the bottom of the email with the answers, along with a link to the school website, which may come in handy. Finally, you will see a section for applications. If you chose an elective that requires an application or teacher approval, click on the link provided to find all the online application forms. If you click on the link, you will go directly to the applications page. However, if you do not have time to go to this page right after you register, here's another way to get to that page at another time. If you open a web browser and type www.vusd.org/Divisadero in the address bar, you will be directed to the home page for Divisadero's website. You can also find this page by clicking on the link at the bottom of the email with your responses. Once on this page, scroll down to find the announcement about registration information. Click on the link and it will take you to the page with the application links. On this page, scroll down until you see these three large buttons. Each one of these graphics is a link to an online application. You can see that there's a different link for Avid, Leadership, and Yearbook. Choose the one that is correct for you and submit your application. Underneath these application links are the visual and performing arts classes that require teacher recommendation or approval. You can see the link for Ms. Turner's choir application, as well as links to video introductions from all the music teachers. If you selected one of these classes, please contact the teacher to receive approval. You can simply click on the teacher's name and send an email. All application links are available now. You do not have to wait until registration to apply. If you scroll down just a little more, you will see two giant buttons for registration. You will be registering for the 7th grade. You can see that this button will be activated on February 9th. However, if you are in a 6th grade class in our feeder system, we'll be registering in your class together. If you are not in our feeder system, on February 9th, you can use this button to register. Remember that all registrations and applications must be submitted by Friday, February 12th. Now that we have covered the registration process, here are a few more things to note about Divisadero. Students at Divisadero earn Trojan points for their behavior. These points are collected and calculated in the 5-Star Students program. Each week, there is a day designated for students to cash in some points for treats during break. We have also instituted prizes like gift cards to be awarded to students with the most points at each marking period. At the end of each semester, the students with the most points can choose from grand prizes. This year's choices include Apple AirPods, a Kindle Fire, and a bicycle. The program is entirely electronic and is attached to the students' ID numbers. Divisadero also has an after-school program known as Pulse. This is similar to the HEART program at elementary school. The time after school is broken up into segments where students can get help with their homework and then participate in fun activities like clubs or sports. Students in Pulse sports can also play in school athletics. There is no cost for this program, and transportation is provided as a bus leaves Divisadero every day at 6 p.m. Pulse signups will take place at the beginning of the school year. Other ways to make connections at Divisadero include intervarsity sports. Divisadero competes with other middle schools in flag football, volleyball, cross country, basketball, soccer, wrestling, baseball, softball, and track and field. Most sports have tryouts. During each season, however, there is one sport that is considered a non-cut sport. In order to participate in sports, your parents must complete the Family ID clearance form, which is accessed through the internet and will be available on Divisadero's webpage. Divisadero also has many ways for students to be connected through clubs and competitions. You see here that Divisadero generally offers Color Guard, History Day, Lego Robotics, Math Super Bowl, Science Olympiad, and Spelling Bee as competitive teams where students will compete against other schools in the district, county, or state. There are other clubs that are just for fun too, like Art, Anime, and Drama Club. Clubs are offered based on student interest and the availability of a staff sponsor each year. There are several opportunities for parents to get involved as well. PTSA is a great organization that supports Divisadero staff and makes the school experience better for everyone. ELAC is a committee that advocates for English learners and provides a bridge between parents and staff. School Site Council is a 10-member board that assists in formulation and modification of the single site plan each school year. Look for opportunities in the fall to join these great committees. Just 2 more notes before I conclude. It is very important that students receive Tdap vaccinations before beginning middle school. Don't wait until August when there are no appointments available. Make an appointment and get it done now. Students who do not have Tdap shots are not allowed on campus. There are usually some free clinics at Green Acres and Divisadero that offer Tdap vaccinations in August. Those dates are currently unavailable. Contact Divisadero later in the spring if you are interested in one of the free clinics. This last slide has many important dates. Obviously, the first one is the one I've been talking about. All registrations and applications are due by Friday, February 12th. On March 25th, students will get to see a virtual tour of Divisadero's campus. Since students can't come to the campus this year, we're going to bring the campus to students in their 6th grade classes. For students who are not part of our feeder school system, we will post this video also on Divisadero's website. Then that night, students and parents are invited to log into a brief information meeting followed by Divisadero's virtual open house. Families will be able to participate in the open house by going into virtual classrooms to see what everything is all about. A tentative date on this schedule is August 6th. Each year, the web crew, made up of Divisadero 8th graders, puts on a great 7th grade orientation event at Divisadero. Incoming students will see some of their friends from their elementary schools, make new friends from other schools, and connect with some 8th graders that can guide them through the first year of middle school. Students will get to see classrooms, participate in team activities, and receive their schedules for the semester. This orientation is highly recommended if we are able to do it this year. And August 12th is the first day of the next school year. It will be here before you know it. Take note of the web address on this slide. It is the homepage for Divisadero where you can find all sorts of information, including ways to contact administration and staff. I hope this presentation has been useful and that you are excited about the 7th grade and now ready to register. If you still have questions, you can call Divisadero's main office at 730-7661, or you can send an email to any of the administrators. Thank you for your attention and welcome, future Trojans.